What's up, guys? Techmaster back with another video. So today we are going to be comparing the iPhone 14, the iPhone 13, and the iPhone 12. So these are the three newest, year by year, not budget phones. They're they're kind of like the budget phones, but they're not necessarily budget, but they're, the lower end ones. So we have the iPhone 12 at $600. We have the iPhone 13 at $700 and the 14 at $800. So each of them goes down by $100. So if you go, all that stuff. So obviously, if you have the money, get the 14, but it's not the best value phone out of these. And the reason is it's basically a repackaging of the 13, which is exactly what it is. There are only a couple main differences. We got the differences between the 14R and the 13 are emergency SOS via satellite, crash detection, slightly better cameras, action mode, slightly larger battery, 5-core A15 Bionic chip, 6 GB of RAM, and that's pretty much it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only 7 differences, barely anything, like total differences. So, like, yes, the iPhone and the 14 is also the most expensive, and like I said, it's a repackaging. It's exactly the same. Like, the 14 Pros actually add new additional features, but yeah, let's do a comparison between all these phones. So on the display side, they all have 6.1-inch displays. The 12 has the biggest notch, but it's not that big of a deal because we're now on no notch on the dynamic island and stuff like that. So it doesn't. I mean, like basically though, there's not much of a difference. And so like if you have the notches on a lot of phones, so it doesn't really matter, and it's still fine. I don't know why I said whatever. We'll move on with that. But anyway, next difference is they all have emergency SOS, but the 14 has satellite connection and crash detection, which could be useful if you're in a car crash. Now, camera side, the 12 has the worst cameras, but they're not all bad. These are still really good cameras. We just have larger sensors compared to the on the 13 and 14. We have the largest sensors on the 14. We have autofocus on the True Depth camera and a photonic engine that was new for this year. And the 12 again, has the worst cameras, but they're not all bad. We have sensor shift on the 13 and 14. We have optical image stabilization on the 12. So basically, though, night photos won't look as good because the 13 and 14 again have sensor shift, so they can capture really low light performance. The 12 is still stuck at optical image stabilization because the 12 Pro Max has a sensor shift, but the other 12 series did not have it at the time. Now, the 14 has action mode, and that's probably one of the best features of the 14. It completely smoothens out your video. It's insane though. It's super cool. So, and if you shake your phone around, it will completely smooth out the video. Then the optical zoom option, same. Battery life is the best on the 14, but still not great. Like if you use it heavily, you can kill this thing in probably 6 or 7 hours. Like it's kind of it's kind of the same as the 12 and the 13, to be honest, because like I've had people that I know that have had it and then their phone was at like 80% and then they went to a game like a Giants game and then it died like 38.6%. Like it's just not great, if you know what I mean. Like if you use it heavily, it's not going to be as good. The 14 Pros get noticeably better battery life, even though because also they have ProMotion and they can dip below 160 hertz. So that can help save battery life. That's a whole different thing. But anyway, 12 has the worst battery life, but it's still manageable in every single way. Like it's not like this thing. This thing still can last 7 hours. 13 could probably last 8, and then maybe the 14 could probably around the same. But the 12 has still had recorded tests of about 7 hours of screen on time, so you're gonna be totally fine with the 12's battery life. Now, processing performance, the iPhone 14 is definitely the fastest. It has a 5-core A15 Bionic chip with a 5-core GPU is what I mean. And we also get 6 gigs of RAM. The 13 does have the A15 Bionic, but it's a 4-core GPU with 4 gigs of RAM. So it's a little bit clocked, a little bit higher on the 14. The 12 has the A14 from 2 years ago. But anyway, all these devices are crazy fast. Like if you get the 12 even, you will not be disappointed with the performance. Face ID, they all have that super fast 5G. We do have larger 5G antennas, as it's kind of something people won't really notice. But the 14s have larger 5G antennas, and they kind of get like faster speeds. That's a whole separate thing. All of them are really good with 5G, but I would say the 14s would have the best 5G coverage because like the 12 is the first phone to have or iPhone to have 5G, so it's not going to be as good, but either way, they all get 5G. It just depends on what carrier you're on and how much 5G coverage they have and all that stuff. So, yeah. Capacity, we have only the 12 only has 64 gigabytes, which is kind of absurd in 2022 because this phone is $600. And I'm gonna just say that spoil the video. I don't think the 12 brand new is worth buying. This is still a great phone. And you can totally buy it used without a doubt. This phone is probably one of the best value used phones. I've seen it under $400 recently, and but brand new, this is a waste of money because the 13 is way better. I mean, it's got better cameras, better battery life, more efficient processor, and better, brighter screen, all that stuff. Smaller notch. Like a lot of things are better about the 13, and it's basically it's $50 more than the 12. So you might as well get that because the 128 gigabyte iPhone 12 is $649. The iPhone 13 with 128 gigabytes is $699. So my point is though that it's only $50 more to get the 13. So you probably shouldn't go with the 12 brand new only. But getting it used is great. The 12 is still an amazing phone. So yeah. Display, they all have the same Super Red XDR display. The 12 is kind of annoying. It only has 625 nits of brightness. That's the only annoying thing. So it's a very dim display. It's a sharp display, but what's annoying is you have to turn the brightness all the way off in bright sunlight conditions, and that kills your battery versus the 13 and 14 have much brighter 800 nit screens. And that's pretty much, yeah. They all have the same stuff like True Tone, haptic touch, P3 wide color, HDR display, all that stuff. Size, yeah, the same thing. I'm not going to go over that. Again, we got the same processors, a little bit different. 5-core GPU on the 14 and then 4 cores on the 12 and 13. Camera system. We have a photonic engine. We have these... the 13 and 12 have an f1.6 aperture on the main camera. The 14 has a f1.5 aperture. So that's one of the reasons we have a larger sensor because, the wider the aperture, the more light you let in. So of course that's going to improve night photos. It's not crazy difference. The 12 and 13 have really wide apertures. Like 1.6 is still really good because most phones, older phones, and even the 11s had a f1.8 aperture. Starting with the iPhone 7, it had that. So for many years that was around. So the 12 really improved the camera system. Anyway, the 14 and 13 have sensor shift. The 12 only has optical image stabilization. It's not the best night photos, but it's still pretty good. Like if you have this phone, I wouldn't necessarily go to the 13 or 14. If you have the 12, I would definitely not recommend upgrading to either of these. You can definitely keep this phone for another year at least, or probably even 2 or 3 years, depending on if you don't want to upgrade your phone every single year. But yeah, this phone has really good cameras still. And yeah. So like I said, I would go to the 14 or 13 from the 12 just because of sensor shift. Like if you're going to upgrade, I would recommend getting the 14 Pro because they have much higher 48 megapixels cameras and a telephoto camera and just a bunch of it's much more worth it going to the 14 Pros over the base models. So yeah, anyway, we'll move on from that. We have Smart HDR4 on the 13 and 14. We have Smart HDR3 on the 12. We all got Deep Fusion, cool. We have photographic styles on the 14 and 13. That's a bunch of different cool little basically you can switch between different camera modes, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, of course, we have HDR video recording, pretty cool. Front camera. I'm not going to go over everything. This is going to take forever. But anyway, power, I'll go to battery lastly because, that's the main thing that's important. Then because if I go over through these, it's going to be like another 20, 30 minutes go over that. So anyway, battery life is the best on the 14, but again, it's not much better than the 13. Like I said, 1 hour extra video playback, 1 hour extra of streaming, and only 5 hours of audio playback. And again, audio playback doesn't matter because that's very standard. The 12 obviously has the worst, battery life, but it's still pretty good. Like, yeah, it's not actually 17 hours. These estimates are not actually true, but they're like, again, 7 hours of usage. That should be fine for a lot of people. And if you're not using your phone, the 12 all day, then you can definitely make it through the day without a problem. Especially if you're at high battery health and you're above like 90%, or if you just got that phone, whatever. You know, the only time you'll run into problems with the 12 is if you have like a 12 Pro that's like 87% battery health. That's really bad. Then it will not really make it through the day. It'll have struggles, but yeah, that's the whole separate thing. But anyway, so yeah, to pretty much sum up this video, I will tell you, I think the iPhone 13 is the best phone out of these because it gets the most value for what you get. Again, and you can even get the 13 mini for $599, the same price as the 12. But here's the good thing. You don't sacrifice any compromises for it being smaller. You get around 6 hours of battery life, you get incredible camera, really good display, and again, it's $100 less than the 12, but basically the 12 with the 100 the 13, sorry. 13 mini is $100 less than the regular 13. And it's the same price as the 12, but it's $100 less than the 13, and you get 128 gigs. Because basically, if you get the 12 purple, that's $649. So my point is, though, I think the 13 is the best value out of these because again, the 14 is a repackaging, it's more expensive and all that stuff. So I would just get the 13 if you have an older phone. I would either get the 13, or if you want to get the 14, go for the pros, because again, I think the 14 is a complete waste of money. I don't think it's worth it at all. I think Apple, like them marketing this and them, I don't think they did a good job with this phone at all. This is all. I think the only person who should get the 14 is if you're upgrading from a crazy old iPhone, or you're switching from an Android phone or a really old Android phone or something, and you just want the best phone, but you don't really care about the specifics and you're not really into Apple's website or anything. But otherwise, yeah, I would just get the 13 because I'm a tech channel. I want to help you guys, obviously. So yeah, I would just, if you guys are tech savvy, then I'm just telling you, I am. The 13 is the better value phone. That's the pretty much the sum of this video. Anyway, guys, I will see you later, and I'll probably make a couple of these videos. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I'll see you later.